Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is John. This report is for the 24th. Let's go straight to the numbers here from the radar screen. It was kind of a lackluster day as usual. The weakness that we were kind of projecting, as far as what limited weakness there can be, did produce itself. Very modest though, which is fine. No objection to that. Still held us in the 50K trade and had no bearing on the overall NBI Opus daily. Moving all the way now to the high flyers. A lot of them had a mixed bag to start the day, and that's going to be typical at this particular time as they get ready for a new push to the upside. If that's going to happen, looks like we may need to ease a little bit more before that does take place, but that's okay. So let's look at our daily, see where it tips out. Still cyan well below red white, not too concerned about this situation. And you have your safety zone with the steel. So just all in all, compacts itself right into there, and you just kind of like easing to the side. Now the interesting thing is with this new rise in red, it needs to eclipse the previous level. Let's go ahead and get those marker numbers. 426 on the red. And we're currently at 477, so in fact it's making new highs on that, so we should expect a new pop to come in after we get a little bit of the easing on this. Would have liked to have seen the green dip below the red white so that it can pop back above. That's usually your clearest definition. Let's go ahead and look at the daily NBI Opus. Is not going to be impacted by this at all, so Starhawk's still in effect, just not doing anything. No biggie with that one. And from the 50K, 1951.75. Now you might be looking and saying 1952. Well, why isn't it stopped out? Well, it won't stop out as long as the cyan is below the green. So until the cyan gets above the green, then the stop becomes activated. Otherwise, it's just a cursory notation until such time as this changes. So just to give you a heads up on that for some people who may be looking and say, well, wait a minute, it dips below it on occasion but doesn't stop out. Exactly, because it's not going to stop out when you're in a situation where there's no reason to sell, because it's not a threat with the cyan below green and or red white in this particular case. So just thought point that one out to you for those who might wonder why sometimes it behaves that way, because it's actually not that ridiculous. It's just a smart program that understands that certain configurations are not sell signals. Now, this just shows you just nothing flat across. That is just worth talking about, because hardly tradable from an intraday standpoint because the range is so small. And that's why kind of we've left it with our broader trades. NQ, not bad. Did get a rise in the cyan here. Should be interesting as it approaches, particularly with the NQ here, everything at zero. That's going to become a nice pivot spot where we can expect a much broader explosion in price. The YM, a little bit less healthy, but that's no shock. You still have red rising just very subtly. Almost have cyan moving back above. It'll be interesting to see if that plays out. Again, it still does have that short target here with the magenta from the red dot setup. And look at the euro. Again, nothing's been a slow, steady incline. Really hasn't produced much of anything, especially now with the cyan above green. So it's kind of offsetting itself into just flatness. 136 seems to be a comfortable number. We could see that there was bearishness even within the nice little pop that was the other day for TLT, and in fact opened higher and gave it all up. Still, it'll be interesting to see if that red can break into the new zone. If it does, there's the potential that it could turn things around, but as it is now, just looking for that deep red to revisit its lows. Nothing shocking. USO, again, a little bit of weakness projected with that spider developing here in the safety zone. Not looking for a whole lot of anything, just pretty much, I figured purple ABM would be, or magenta really, would be the ideal range for it. GLD has still stayed within its buy configuration off of this original setup and hasn't changed that yet. So, in fact, it moved a little longer term here as the cyan dipped below weight. And looking at some of the basic AIG has just been perfect from that overall. X here got a little overbought, positive extreme. Chased that a little bit, but still looks to be a positive setup with the green still well over. No problem with that. CLF still growing in there, and the green moving above positive. All we have to do is watch in the next bar here whether or not Cyan moves back. But overall, with the breakout to new zone, this should have a little bit more leg than producing so far. And speaking of which, so this all started back here at our little, 450 range when we dipped below with the steel, and we talked about the dramatic change that was over the previous months. And then boom, sure enough, you get the buy signal, and it's just been a steady positive with the Cyan staying well below red white the whole way through. So, that's a significant kind of move. This is just what you need to look for when you're looking at regular stocks, because you get these anomaly periods where you're running, high the opposite. In fact, I can scroll back a little bit and you can see what I'm talking about here, where we had this extended period run. I went too far. That's too many months. There we go. So it started here, the decay, where we kept having the Cyan and that up above for seemed like forever, I think, for anyone who was playing with it. But it presented great opportunities in the $4 range. And it was just this huge separation that just continued to last forever. So this kinds of things worth noting, because it really becomes powerful when you see it take place and then you're able to attack the situation. And it usually yields some pretty extraordinary returns, which that in fact did. We'll take a look at some alerts. We liked Twitter as just continuing to do its basic slow assault. Tesla had made a nice move. Still looks good from all those chart reads. No objection there. Piece of cake. I love it when it's easy like that, some of these setup. We also did not like what was happening with PCLN off of the original rise. We saw the Cyan break back above. We knew that was going to come back to retest the lows. No shock there. Netflix, we've been cheerleading that one since, well, gosh, I remember that 68 wanting, telling everyone to buy it hard, and here we are now at 430 plus range, but that's a whole different story. Just this recent run from the threes, 100 points. Not difficult to do. Google gave the buy signals here. We see the deep red. It's pretty good with the fact that the green broke out above and you continue to rise on red white. I would just look for the first turnaround in that, and then you're likely to come back to these lows. But overall, that's not horrible. Facebook had just been a mesh of flatness and continues to do just that. No change in that setup. FAS, as long as we like the FAS continuing to move in the right direction, we like the market holding up, and the FAS continuing to move in the right direction. No issues there. And Baidu, kind of flat, held up a little bit. That Cyan dip below generates a new buy configuration here. So, that was where that ABM supporting off there, critical. Intraday, that was excellent signals and easy one to take advantage of. And this is where having this broader daily, you just pick out which ones. I mean, you see, like I'm pointing out, Facebook doesn't have much happening, but Baidu, we could see, was ready for a turnaround. You just shift your focus. That's all it takes. Amazon, that's potentially got some legs to it here now with the new buy crossover. And Apple's been in a little bit of a retreat. We've just been waiting for the green turnaround. Now that it's underneath, the new buy pop will be the point we're looking for. It'll be interesting to see if we dip below the red line here. It's going to be interesting. Now, even though it had the sell signal, we weren't expecting much of a drop because of the safety zone. We have not seen much of a drop. I mean, this is like minuscule and has supported off that ABM. You just need to see the green begin its pivot up would be helpful, and they'll be ready to take off. But it's pretty much taking away all the overbought right now. Has just been being worked out right through here in this flat range after the major sentence. So we're going to be saying that it's oversold very shortly here, And people will be like, how can it be oversold when, it's still moving that far? Well, you're seeing how that happens right in front of you. So worth paying attention to, because I think the first up pivot on the extreme is going to generate a pretty nice little pop on it. So definitely worth it. Keep chilling. As always, beautiful start to the summer. As always, though, trade well. Look for me on private Twitter feed StockTwits. I was going to go over, I had made a conversion. I don't have it on this one. We took the DOC paint and put it onto Radar Screen so that you can choose which programs. In fact, if I go on here, I can probably put the DOC paint on. Oh, it's already activated, so that's this one right here. And if we go to format, you'll begin to see the subtle changes that I made. And here it is with the inputs. Yours will have an added additional one that says yellow only, which needs to stay on the true. But if we turn any of these to false and just leave like the yellow one, then it'll only alert for yellow. Or you can do it for yellow and magenta, or you could do it for yellow and green, whatever your preference is on that particular point. But then attached to Radar Screen, you will see an additional one right below here where you would just click and add additional bars. And once you do that, it would pretty much be there. And then you just have to go to alerts. And when you enable the alerts, this is the one I recommend, once per bar level, and then clear triggered alerts on the bar close. And this way you don't just have an old reference. And then you got to make sure you configure your email, pop-up window, or verbal, whichever you prefer. Does it all. And that is the easiest way to then put it on a actual Radar Screen with all the different stocks and or multiple time frames that you want. And a little blue dot will appear in the bottom, which will let you know that your alerts are activated. And as that goes through, it'll alert you all day on every time a yellow candle configuration shows up. And then obviously, if you look at the chart, you'll be able to see whether or not it's coming off of deep red or not, and whether or not you should take advantage of that based on higher pivots from red or green, and go from there. As always, though, trade well.